I wish the proceedings were under a tree outside, so nice and warm outside, than inside here.
Yes, but I hear some aircon noise, and I think the witness had a problem earlier on, and I think let's switch it off. I certainly didn't feel before lunch that switching it off made it colder. Ms. Mokonyane, I think before lunch we had switched it off because it was causing problems for you.
Yes, it was affecting the hearing.
Yes. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Noche.
Now, Mokonyane, we deal with, on page 31, where we deal with the, Mr. Agrizzi said, Busasa also provided catering. He says he provided catering for supporters at President Zuma's birthday parties, at amongst others, Luthuli House, and for his private birthday parties. And then he says, by way of an example, Annexure G, a photograph of a cake that I arranged for President Zuma's 72nd birthday. Now, you have responded to that. What is your response to that? Your response is on page 31.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, as I have said before, and as reflected in this paragraph, Chairperson, I wish to again indicate that the provision of all these things had to do with different and many other people who were involved in. It was not my direct involvement. It was as per the interest of everyone who wished to wish President Jacob Zuma a happy birthday, as it has happened even now with Mandela Day and even the President Thabo Mbeki's birthdays.
Now, just on that, man, if this was done by and at the expense of Busasa, wouldn't that be a problem, this birthday party?
I can't deal with the if. All I know is that there were different things that happened on that particular day at the party, and therefore I don't see myself being able to make a judgment.
Now, would it be proper for a person who has a tender with government to sponsor birthday parties of party officials or government officials?
Chairperson, I don't find it actually being improper, as I have said, and I've proved here that even SOEs have come out to support activities of presidents, of premiers, and that was also what Busasa has done, not only to President Zuma's birthday, but to many other activities of the ANC and individuals.
Now, Mr. Agrizzi responds to your question, to your answer, and he responds and he says, I have no knowledge of the actual role in respect of the catering for President Zuma's birthday parties, which were arranged mainly by Dudumieni, but I state further that at the specific request of Nomvula Mokonyane, and over and above the use of Busasa premises for conferences, elections, call centers on diverse occasions when Luthuli House celebrated President Zuma's birthday, all catering was done at Nomvula Mokonyane's request and was funded by Busasa. And you deny this?
Yes.
Now, we then, on same page 81, you are dealing with what is stated by Mr. Agrizzi in paragraph 22.5.5 of his main affidavit. He says they also did maintenance at your house in Roodepoort, which included maintaining electric fencing, generators, CCTVs, gardening, pool, gates, and lighting. What do you say? Your response is on page 31.
Yes.
Yes.
And my response remains as it is. And as I've also indicated, there's even an SMS where my husband responded when there were media queries about what exactly has happened and is alleged by Mr. Agrizzi. And at no point has he ever indicated that I have asked him. And my husband has also indicated that he took responsibility. And during my tenure, chairperson, as the MEC and the Premier, those responsibilities of security were provided by the state. But even now, Mr. Nixon has also confirmed that he has not found anything that is actually raised by Mr. Agrizzi in his affidavit.
Now,
Just 1 second before we proceed. I just want to find out from the transcribers whether they are able to hear the witness properly with the mask on or not. Sorry? Yes, but I think she said she has some conditions. I think she would prefer to put the mask on. Is that right?
I will try and continue.
You'd prefer to put it on if possible?
I would prefer, but for the ease of the commission, let's proceed.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to find out, because if they can hear properly, then you could keep it on, but if they can't hear properly, then it would affect what they type for the transcript. I think we'll wait. Probably it's a long story that they will tell me.
Okay.
Chair, it's as if they are struggling to hear the witness with the mask on. Even my junior says, even here, sitting here,
Okay.
she's struggling to hear.
I'll continue, Chairperson.
Okay,
I'll
all right.
continue. Ngizofuta uma ngifika ekhaya.
Okay. Ask her what was so cool. The witness just said she'll get sick when she gets home. I'm hoping she won't get sick.
Chair,
Okay, all right.
if we will help the witness, I've got a nyanga I know at Alex, he's very good. We can sort it out.
Okay, let's continue. She gave an answer to Mr. Agrizzi's evidence that Busasa provided maintenance of certain security features at home. You want to take it from them, Mr. Noche?
Yes, Chair. Now, Mrs. Mokonyane, it's confirmed, so also in the minute that was signed by the lawyers after I visited your house, that when one enters your yard, there's a guardhouse on the left. Is it correct?
Yes, it's a known fact.
And it's manned, the guards were there.
Yes.
And I suppose they are there to check who's coming in to the
Yes.
house. Yeah. Now, no one would be able to come to your house to do maintenance without going past these people.
No one would do that. Yes.
And have you ever received a report that there were unauthorized people who came to your house to do repairs that people weren't authorized by your family?
I've never received a report other than the people that I know that have been doing work in the house.
And you read the affidavit and you heard the evidence of Charles Leroux,
Yes.
and his file is not far from you, where he says he went and identified the house where he did some repairs and it's your house.
I don't know what he has done. It was not per my instruction. All I know is that we had requested them to go and help us with an alarm that was going on and off. And that's all that we had asked them to do, per the instructions from my late husband, who, as I've said, in his own SMS, after the Sunday Times story, he actually said he is responsible personally for the services that have to do with the security and the maintenance of the yard.
Now, just one thing, the one instance which you say was authorized by your husband, did your family pay for that?
I don't know. As I have said, those are the...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, sorry, the question is, in the one instance where she admits that the repairs were done at the request of her husband, question is, did she pay for, or the family pay for those repairs?
As I've stated, Chairperson, these are the responsibilities that my husband would take responsibility thereof. As to whether he was invoiced or not, that remains an issue that I cannot come and substantiate here.
Now, is your evidence, Mr. Mokonyane, if I understand it, that Charles Leroux could have done work at your place, but he was not authorized by you?
He was never authorized by me, Chair.
And you didn't pay Busasa
I
for
don't-
work, sorry, yes. You didn't pay Busasa for work that was done by Charles Leroux?
I don't know whether they were paid or not paid for the intervention with regard to the fence that had broken and any other extra work. I'm saying for the record, and also with the text that my husband responded to the Sunday Times, he took responsibility of the upkeep and the security of the house. Only from 2014, when I moved from Gauteng and became a minister.
Now, did you find out from your husband, when the report came in the newspapers about the repairs at your house, whether he paid for those repairs?
My husband actually responded in that SMS to say they're talking nonsense because he has taken responsibility, and that text is there. What they did beyond that, I don't know.
Now, and you saw your answer is that you didn't ask him whether he paid for it or not.
No, I wouldn't ask. It's his responsibility.
I see. Now, on page 32 of the record, that is paragraph 37.2, you say that you never say, I never requested Busas to do
Well,
any...
I'm sorry, Mr. Notchef. Maybe let's approach this differently. You know, the thrust of Mr. Agrizzi's evidence against you is that Busasa had, in effect, a special relationship with you, or Mr. Gavin Watson had a special relationship with you. Special relationship maybe is my phrase, not his. But as I understand his evidence, he says you were close. I don't know whether I can go as far as saying you were friends, but you were close, that is yourself and Mr. Gavin Watson. He goes on to say, Busasa gave you presents and gave you money monthly, as you would have heard. And he says, all this, from what Mr. Gavin Watson told him, that is Mr. Agrizzi, was done effectively to buy your influence, because he says Mr. Gavin Watson kept on saying to him that you are a very influential person both in government and in the ruling party, and that Busasa needed to treat you very well because you would provide them with protection with regard to investigations that were being conducted by the SIU and protection from prosecution, criminal prosecution. And he says that Mr. Gavin Watson emphasized that you had influence with the former president, Mr. Jacob Zuma. Now, you have already said you never received any presents or gifts from Bosasa personally. And I think in your affidavit, you deny having received any money. And one of the things that Mr. Agrizzi said in his evidence is that there were 2 occasions on which he was present when you were given money by Mr. Gavin Watson. One of those occasions, he said, it was in your house. He says he had been asked by Mr. Gavin Watson to prepare the money and put it in a bag, and they left it on a chair for you in your house. Now, you have said that with regard to security issues in the house, you never asked Bosasa to do anything for you or your family. And I think you said Mr. Agrizzi has never been to your house, and you must just tell me if I misunderstand his evidence. So when it comes to these issues, it's important that in putting your side, you provide what reason you would have, how Mr. Agrizzi would know some of the fissures in your house if he had not been there. So I think it's important to deal with those things.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Yes.
It's in his submission that he says, I think it's also one of his people who are saying they met at my place and I wasn't there. So he came to my house in my absence. He has never sat with me, and as he says he left money in a chair, and yet he says he was inside a meeting. I've never received any cash coming from Gavin Watson, nor also through him, Agrizzi, as he claims that he was once asked. That is not what I know, and that is not what is a fact.
Maybe, Mr. Noche, you can just run through some of those features that are agreed as common cause that he mentioned. Because as you will remember, Ms. Mokonyane, from his affidavit, he said certain things in order to show that he knows the house on the inside. He has been to the house. He said certain things. He said, there is this. I think one of them was, well, he first said the guardhouse is to your left as you enter. And then I think he says there are a few steps just before you enter the house. And I think he said on the right-hand side as you enter, there is, I don't know whether he said it's a lounge or he said it's a kitchen or he said it's a study. And then he says inside there is, I think, a staircase, if I'm not mistaken. So let's deal with those so that Ms. Mokonyane can just deal with those things. And because it's important to deal with them and see how he would have known about those things if they are there and if they cannot be seen from outside. Obviously, if it is something that can be seen from the road, then it can't prove that he has been inside. But let's hear those, and then Ms. Mokonyane can deal with those.
Chair, before we get there, can I ask one question from Ms.
Yes,
Mokonyane?
okay.
Ms. Mokonyane, do you deny that Mr. Agrizzi visited your home?
Mr. Agrizzi never visited my home in my presence.
That's a pregnant answer. What I'm saying is, are you saying he never visited your home? When then you add, in my presence. Are you saying he could have visited it when you were not there?
He might have, as they are saying in their statements, but I deny the fact that Agrizzi had actually been in my house with me being present. They might have met with my husband, they might have met with people in the house, as they allege, but never with me, and it was on one occasion. But also the knowledge of my house, Chairperson, as I've said. When you have an occasion like a bereavement, I've been visited even by members of the DA in my house. I've been visited by people that I don't know, all because they've come to pay respects. And for them to know my house, it's some people I meet even today, they tell me, we came, we saw you, and I can't even remember. But the other things that are wrong about Agrizzi's assertions, I don't have a wooden staircase. There's no wooden staircase in my house, including the one that goes to the bedrooms. It's not a wooden staircase. Also, there is a lounge, a TV lounge, a private TV lounge, on the right as you go towards the kitchen. And thirdly, there is a dining room that has been in good use from the day I moved into that house. So his allegations of saying it is not actually, there's an open space that is supposed to be a dining room that is not being used, that's also a lie. The thing that he's saying about knowing the features of the house, maybe it is on that day when they came to come and look at the fence, I don't know. I was not even present on that day. I've never held a meeting with Mr. Agrizzi in my house. Mr. Agrizzi indicates that this is what he has always been told by Gavin Watson.
Mr. Noche will proceed to look at the features that Mr. Agrizzi talks about, or that are agreed as having been identified, but I want to ask this question. Would it be fair to think that your late husband would have told you, at least after hearing Mr. Agrizzi giving evidence, if he had ever met Mr. Agrizzi in your house on any particular occasion? Is it fair to think he would have said, well, that man was here, blah, 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 blah? Or,
yes,
or not really?
It would have been fair, but the thing that I know as a matter of record is that he said they're talking nonsense.
Yes.
He is responsible.
Yes.
It was only on this occasion when there was a problem with the alarm that he asked, because our own 24/7 electricity and security company was on call because of the problems of flooding and the storm in Gauteng.
Yes. But on that occasion, did he say, or anybody in the family say, Mr. Agrizzi himself
No,
came?
nobody ever gave me that account.
No, nobody ever said
No.
Agrizzi came, Mr.
No.
Agrizzi came, yes.
No.
Okay, and did anybody say who came exactly or not really?
No, they would actually say abelungu basebusasa.
Yes, okay. Mr. Noche?
Now, Mrs. Mokonyane, what the commission did last week is to write to your lawyers to set out what features Mr. Agrizzi says he observed at your home, seeking a confirmation whether those exist or not. And these I'm reading from the letter. The letter actually is on the last file, is file 11, the last folder 11.
Well, it's a very, she might not need to go. You can just read it. It's a brief letter. You can just read what the letter says.
Okay, the letter says, the evidence of Agrizzi regarding his visit to your client's place at, then the address is given, is inter alia as follows. There is a guardhouse to the left as one enters the premises. There is a small set of stairs to what is the main door, it seems, to the house. There is a study to the right as one enters the house through the main door. If one continues down the entrance passage, one will see a staircase to the far left. This staircase leads to what is presumed to be the bedrooms upstairs. If one continues down the passage, one will enter into a kitchen area. Off the kitchen area, there is what seems to be like an open dining area. then in brackets, that was not in use. That leads out to the backyard area. And linked to the dining room is a large lounge area. And then your attorneys responded and it says, nevertheless, I'm just reading the pertinent part. Nevertheless, in the short time afforded to us, we have obtained instruction from our client that she confirms most of Mr. Agrizzi's contentions, but disputes that which he contends in relation to where the kitchen is and the dining room not being in use. In this regard, we are further instructed as follows in relation to the features of your house, of your home. Before you reach the kitchen area, you pass a room that is used as a private lounge on your right, and the dining room has been and is in use. So it seems as if your lawyers say you agree with most of the features except the ones you have pointed out.
Before you answer, Ms. Mokonyane, I'm just wondering whether it's not better to take each feature one by one so she's able to say that, because they say most, so I don't know which ones fall in, which ones fall out. They specifically mention some, I think two, where there is a problem.
Yeah.
Ms. Mokonyane, would you prefer to answer now, or would you prefer that Mr. Noche mentions them one by one so you can be clear exactly which ones you say?
I can respond even now, Chair.
Okay.
With your permission.
Yes, yes.
Firstly, from the Google Maps that Mr. Agrizzi downloaded, it's a given, you'll see where the guardhouse is. Because it is there, and it is a guardhouse, it's a brick and mortar guardhouse. And correctly so, there are a few stairs that you climb as you go into not what seems to be, what is the main entrance. And immediately there's a study, and immediately on your opposite side of the study, on your left, not as you go further through the passage, there's a staircase, not a wooden staircase, a tiled staircase. Because of my health, I can't actually live with any carpet or even wooden floors. There's a staircase that takes you to the bedroom, just immediately there. And then you immediately turn right. That's when then you first go past the private lounge, and immediately on your other side, you then have the kitchen, and in front of you, you'll not have to look for it. You'll see there is a dining room because it's an open plan, so nothing is hidden there.
Mr. Noche, have you been able to see which ones are she is not admitting as being there?
Well, Mr. Mokonyane, as I'm sure you read the letter, there is no mention of the wooden stairs in the letter.
Yes, Chairperson, there's
it might be in the affidavit.
In the affidavit that we got and that we worked even overnight on it.
It might be in the affidavit.
Now, and is it correct that if one, I'm reading on paragraph 2.5 of the letter, it says, if one continues down the passage, one will enter into a kitchen. Is that correct?
If you continue.
Yes.
You don't even enter because it's an open plan. You just reach the kitchen, and across you see there's also a dining room in front of the kitchen.
Then he says, off the kitchen area, there's what seems to be like an open dining area. And he says that was not in use. That leads out to the backyard area.
My dining area, we don't have any other dining room except that dining room. And that has been there from the day we occupied that space, and we have lived there, and everyone can attest to it. That's what I'm disputing from Mr. Agrizzi. I have no unutilized space in the house.
And then linked...
Did you say, does it lead to outside? I thought you were reading
Yes, it
something.
says off the kitchen, there's what looks like an open dining area that leads out to the backyard area.
Is that part correct?
We have 2 exits, one to the front and one to the back. And when we have functions, we actually open all of them so that people can move easily.
Okay.
And then lastly, it says, linked to the dining room is a large lounge area.
There is a lounge.
And is it where Mr. Agrizzi says it is?
Linked to the, like I've said, Chairperson, it's an
Yes.
open plan.
Yes.
The kitchen, the dining room, and the lounge. But he also forgets to say there is a bar.
Okay.
And it is in your face as you walk, because you walk past the private lounge, and on your other side, immediately, just maybe 2-3 moves, then it's the kitchen. And as you come right from the entrance, after you have turned away from the study, you see a dark brown wooden bar. It has glasses, it has a stand, it's in your face, it's like a mirror. You see it, it's unavoidable not to see.
You will agree with me that the features that are mentioned by Mr. Agrizzi, let's leave the guardhouse for a moment and the stairs. The features inside the house, they are features that would have been observed by someone who was inside the house.
They would have been observed, but not as accurate, not as inaccurate as he's putting them. I think he might have been told, and hence he has forgotten what could just immediately come into your mind about the Mokonyane's house. That there is a bar as you come in, there, a small family bar, and you walk across and you pass the private lounge, and then you get into the kitchen on the other side, and just there, it's an open plan kind of a situation. So I find it very absurd that he wouldn't even recognize that one, unless somebody has told him and they forgot to give him the total description.
Of course, even if he had been there, he might have forgotten that part, forgotten some features in it.
He has never been in that house with my knowledge.
No, I accept that.
Yes.
You are saying I accept that your version is that he has never been to the house.
Mr. Agrizzi has amended his submissions, Chairperson,
Yes.
so many a times. And surely, if he wants to prove the proximity that he alleges he has, surely these are things that he will not easily forget. Anyone who you can ask, like I'm saying, even leaders of the Democratic Alliance, leaders of the IFP, leaders of the EFF, people that have come to that house, they will tell you that right in front of you, even during bereavements, Chairperson, we don't remove that dining room. In fact, it gets used as an altar. I'm very Catholic. So that dining room operates as a little altar when there is a bereavement. When there is no bereavement, that's the table that we all spend time, because we are all busy people. We call it our place of convergence, where we all come together. So I don't know if he had forgotten to see tables and chairs.
Well, you said that when there are functions in the house, or when there's a bereavement or a party, people come and you open both ends for people to move in and out. Yeah. I take it that you are not suggesting that Mr. Agrizzi might have been to your house during one of those occasions, but what you are saying is that he must have got this information from somebody else about the features of your house. Is that correct?
He might have gotten this explanation from somebody who has been in the house, and that's my assertion.
Yes.
Or he doesn't know the house at all.
Yes, because of course, if he was ever there in the house when there were many people, he's not the kind of person that you would miss. You would see him. There's no way you would not see him.
I wouldn't miss if you would have joined us when we have mass. You know, when you have a bereavement, you then come, then go by a misa, there's a prayer service, and you come downstairs. But most of the time, when there's a bereavement, and when it is a bereavement in my house, I'm the chief mourner. I spend most of the time upstairs. And with the loss of my son, Chairperson, I want to tell you, it was not an easy thing for me to accept. I couldn't deal with it. I was confined in bed. I was under medical treatment. And people came in numbers. By the time I went to pick up my son in Basonia and confirm his identity before he was taken to the mortuary, I arrived home, the house was full. I can't tell you who the white person who was there and the black person who was there and all those kind of things. I lived for the better part of that period being sedated. I had to deal with the insults and all those things, but just the people who came, I can't really remember. Others still remind me today that we were with you. And that's me with the issues of bereavement, because the other time that opens any African home is when ushonelwe. And the other time it's when you host imicimbi. And imicimbi, I will not invite Agrizzi, and all those things. I will not invite Agrizzi, I will not even invite Gavin, because it has to do with me and my family and my intercession, and that's what will happen. When I entertain, I entertain my friends. Not even Gavin has been entertained in my house, because we don't relate at that level. Because that's, I've never had a relationship where I would party with Gavin and stuff. When I met with Gavin, we'll just be relating about politics. He was very passionate and very outspoken about politics and all those things. And the other thing that will be his own contributions will be about us reminiscing about our past and all those kind of things, or all of us working for the ANC and implementing the mandate of the African National Congress.
Well, I guess you would agree with me that if he has never been to your house, and he had to go and look for somebody who knew your house inside, then it means he really went to great lengths to try and get something which would create the impression that he has been to the house, when in fact he has not been to the house. Now the question that arises for me, and I'm the one who must ultimately decide, make a finding which of these versions is true. What arises is, why would he go to these lengths to do this to you? It's important that you address that, because I've no doubt that if he or his lawyers present argument, they might say, why would he have gone to all of these lengths? Why would he want to tarnish your image, put you in a bad light, and go and look for people who know your house and say, please tell me what are the features that one can find in the house?
Thank you, Chair. I think the extent of the desperate acts of Mr. Agrizzi goes beyond just the description of the house. The very fact that he thinks for a movement as old as the ANC, 108 years old, can actually be dependent on a Nomvula for it to remain a popular organization that has earned being a leader of society. Smacks of his ignorance and naivety. Secondly, I just think whatever that has happened between him and Gavin, he is at pains to really not only tarnish Gavin, but look for people who at that particular time and even now, their names have been tarnished both in the media as well as the perceptions that have been branded about them. He himself has not actually denied the fact that he hates black people. He himself, he has not denied the fact that he had complained about the relationship I have with Gavin. He has actually put it on record. Only him can indicate, but I really think that Gavin trusted somebody who was never committed to actually being what he, Gavin, and the Watson family and all other people, not only Gavin, even other people who worked for Bosasa, had actually were doing for the African National Congress, like it has happened with other businesses. Only him can explain. But I do believe that he has a mission, and his mission, as you can see, is going to an extent of saying, I have influence. It's like I'm in charge of leaders of the African National Congress and presidents. I think that is also wrong. And now the act of desperation pushes him to not even say, I wish he could have said, I've gone to Nomvula's bedroom and I found her lying on the mattress, and that's where we agreed to sign off and do all the burials and everything. Because that's where the decision of me and my family, like you know, Chairperson, Magunesifo, in your home, there are moments where the family comes together. And omunye nomunye asho ukuthi no sesihambile sahamba kangaka salungisa lokhu sayenza and did all those things. That's where issues are discussed. He doesn't say in all those things about the things that he's saying, that I met Nomvula or I met Sech Mokonyane and I was told that I must do this and this and that. He says it was instructed by Gavin, and I definitely can say, Chairperson, Gavin never bought a coffin for my child. Gavin never paid for a grave for my child. Bosasa never buried my child. He even goes to an extent, I think this desperation just irritates me and hurts me so bad that he even goes to an extent of confusing my two sons, Ritlabusa, Africa the eldest, and Ritlabusa. And leave aside the description of the house, just that. So he doesn't even know their names. Yet in every other thing, he's able to drop the names. Nomvula's Mokonyane's son. And that's how my kids have gone through in this country. They are all associated. They are all Nomvula's son, Mokonyane's son. Now it's Mokonyane's daughter. And I think my own issue is Agrizzi with how he has come even to the commission, and how he's conducting himself, and how he had also provided information. It is up to him to say what exactly is the motive, and why has he handpicked those that he had handpicked. Chair, just a simple thing. I've never been in any department that deals with the procurements of the of that department with Bosasa. Chairperson, I'm not sure if the SIU and everybody had stopped the investigations. I don't know. So I really don't, I really don't know why, but I think the man is full of hatred. And there was a situation between him and Gavin, and as I've said, dead men tell no story. But really, I am saying, Chair, you can go to my house immediately. Once you pass the study, immediately you have the staircase, and in your face, before you even see there's a kitchen, you see the bar, you see the dining room. You only realize once you have moved into this open space that there is a kitchen.
Thank you. Mr. Noche?
Mrs. Mokonyane, you will confirm that your house has got high walls. The perimeters of your premises is made of high walls.
Yes, it is, as it was also shown by Agrizzi on the Google map.
Yes. And I'm sure one cannot be able to see the guardhouse outside the premises. One has to enter the premises.
No, you can see the roof, even from outside, and also through a Google map you can see.
And one will not be able to see that the roof, that is the roof of a guardhouse. One may just see the roof.
Come again?
One may just see the roof, but wouldn't know whether it's a roof of another building or a guardhouse. One has to open and enter the premises to see that it's a guardhouse.
Yes, you have to open and enter. But knowing that that's been a house of an MEC and a premier, it goes with logic.
Now, also, the stairs that lead to the main house cannot be seen from outside. One has to enter the yard to see those stairs.
You can also, when you Google, you do an aerial photography, you can see those stairs, and yes, also when you enter, that's the main entrance to the house.
When you say that you can see the stairs leading to the main house through Google photography, are you saying that's what Agrizzi did?
I do believe. I don't understand what led him to actually downloading Google Maps. Oh, sorry, Chair. Sorry,
No.
Chair. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm saying, yes, it's easy to find out that way, and you can also be told by anybody else, and you can also see it once you are inside the yard.
Now, you also say in your answer in paragraph 37.2 on page 32 that your primary security was provided by the state. And you say this included, as far as I was concerned, the provision of closed-circuit television. Are you saying the primary security at your house, the private home, was done by the state?
Yes.
Now, you saw the affidavit of Mr. Allen Nixon that he's asked the state for details of this. The state never confirmed that they put security at your place.
The state was responsible for my security, and that is what had happened.
Now, when you
I'm sorry. I think it's important to clarify. In one part of your affidavit, you said the state was responsible or you were entitled to being provided with primary security by the state. And then here you say this primary security was provided by the state. So that's separate from being entitled, because you can be entitled and they don't provide. So you are saying, as a matter of fact, the state did provide what you refer to as primary security. Is that right?
Yes, including the static guards that were provided through the SAPS.
Yes, I wanted to come to that to say, what falls under primary security? What are you covering when you say my primary security was provided by the state? Exactly. Is that the protectors only, or is that something else as well? I just wanted
The state also provided a guardhouse.
Guardhouse.
The state also provided the butlers and the security in terms of cameras and stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the CCTV cameras.
Yes.
And the guardhouse.
Yes.
And I assume
And the 24-hour
the
guard
personnel in the guardhouse.
Yes, it was the South African
Yes.
Police Service.
Yes, okay. Mr. Nocho.
Now, when you were preparing this affidavit, you had already heard and seen the affidavit of Agrizzi, where he says the CCTVs were provided by Busasa, right? You had seen, when you were answering this, you had
Yes.
seen Busasa saying, you had seen Agrizzi saying these were provided by Busasa, am I right?
Yes.
Now, did you ask the state and say, please show me, give me the receipts, or show me, confirm that you did provide this? Someone is saying here that they provided CCTVs for my house. So I know it was provided by you, the state. Please confirm this.
Chairperson, even the decision of having a protector, you don't get any explanation from the state. Even when the state, out of their own risk assessment, resolved that I must not spend time in Noordjevel because of the security issues, I must actually move to Bryanston. I took time to move to that official residence until I was forced by the South African Police Service VIP protection that I have to move to that place because of their own concerns. And they will never even explain to you. You just see those things. So the state, I would never, and I think I took it as a matter of fact that everybody knows how the state deals with these issues. And I've seen also Mr. Nixon confirming that he had checked all those issues with the state. It is up to Agrizzi himself to prove why he actually is misleading this house.
Well, you mentioned Mr. Nixon. I thought I would come back to that because earlier on you did make reference to him having confirmed something, and I didn't hear what it was. So what is it that on your reading of his affidavit he has confirmed?
That the CCTV cameras could not be associated with those that Agrizzi or whoever has come to the commission to attest.
Would not be?
That he confirms that the security in the house is not the same as that is being alleged to have been bought. I don't know in what company.
Is not the same
Yes.
as the security or CCTV cameras that Mr. Agrizzi talked about?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And all other issues that are in the affidavit by the gentleman.
Yes. Well, if you want to go to the affidavit, feel free to do so. But otherwise, Mr. Noche might assist.
Okay,
where
it's
to
on
find
the
it.
affidavit, it starts on page 148.
Well, Mr. Noche, if you know exactly where about...
Yes, on page, Chairperson?
Yes.
Thanks, Chair. On page 158.
The 158, yes. You want to read the relevant part, Ms. Mokonyane?
Thank you, Chairperson. The conclusions on paragraph 35 reads as follows. To the date of deposing to this affidavit, our investigations have not found any evidence that the purchases of CCTV security equipment from Regal Security and made on the Angelo Agrizzi cash account can be matched to the security installations done at Mrs. Mokonyane's private residence in Krugersdorp. And 3.34.2, Mrs. Mokonyane received any security installations at a private residence as a consequence of the positions that she held as the MEC of Gauteng, the Premier of Gauteng, or as the Minister of Water and Sanitation.
Yes, I understand that to mean the following, and I want you to confirm whether my understanding and your understanding is, are the same. I understand Mr. Nixon to be saying, excuse me, as at the date of deposing to this affidavit, his investigations have not found any evidence that the CCTV security equipment from Regal Security, which was made on Mr. Agrizzi's cash account, can be matched or matches the security installations at your residence. That's the first point I think he's making. I think we agree on that one.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And secondly, I understand him to say his investigations have also not found any evidence that the security installations at your residence were security installations that you got as a result of the positions you held as MEC, the Gauteng Housing, Premier of Gauteng, or Minister of Water and Sanitation. Is our understanding on both points the same?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Noche?
So just on this, you see that the state did not confirm that they did install the security equipment at your house.
Come again?
On this paragraph, paragraph 3.34.2,
Yes.
the state did not confirm that the security TVs at your house were installed by the state. Didn't confirm that.
That's what Mr. Nixon is.
Yes.
Yes, I see.
So the state has not confirmed that they put the CCTVs at your house.
Yes.
Now, it then takes me back to my earlier question, the clarification I just seek from you. You read Mr. Agrizzi saying the CCTVs were installed by the state, by Bosasa. And you say those CCTVs were installed by the state.
All security features in my house were installed by the state, and any other further security feature, that was my husband's responsibility, post my departure from Gauteng.
No, all I'm saying is you read Mr. Agrizzi's affidavit saying that the CCTVs and security around your house were installed by Bosasa.
And I'm saying,
And you're saying no, they were installed by the state. Did you, so just a minute, did you find out from the state and ask them to confirm that these were installed by them?
I've not gone to the state because I've read Mr. Agrizzi's statement, and I've also had the confirmation from my husband that he took responsibility, and we do have a 24/7 security company that does all the maintenance and everything that is related to our security, even as we speak to date.
Sorry, Mrs. Mokonyane, you didn't go to the state despite the serious allegations made against you that the CCTVs and security equipment was installed by a private person at your house, and you saying they were installed by the state. Was it not easy? Sorry. I didn't mean to speak over you. Was it not easy for you to ask the state to say, you installed these, please give me an affidavit or confirm that these were installed by the state and not by Bosasa?
No, I have never done that, precisely because I've never found it being my responsibility to go back to the state and go and find out what they have done. The guard house, for example, that is in my house, we had to build it after the state's guard house had actually collapsed, and it was post my being the premier and moving into national government, because national government does not actually provide security in your private residence. And that's what we did. So I never went back to the state for the purposes of this commission.
And I'm sure, Ms. Mokonyane, as you know, this inquiry is an ongoing inquiry. You will obtain confirmation from the state that this was done by them and provide commission with that.
Chairperson?
Yes.
If I'm requested to get information from the state other than what Mr. Nixon has obtained, then I would have to go back to the state and they will have to deal with it.
So sorry, Mrs. Mokonyane, don't misunderstand. I'm sure perhaps you might be misunderstanding Mr. Nixon's affidavit. He doesn't say he obtained confirmation. He says he didn't obtain confirmation.
Yes, I would have to go and check with the state if I'm requested to, but also it is up to the commission itself also to call the state and let the state come and explain itself.
Yes. No. The commission has the obligation to investigate that, but obviously you can, as you have been doing, give whatever cooperation to facilitate in terms of maybe who the right people are to talk to, if that is information that you know. But the commission will continue to investigate, and if they need to ask you for assistance, they will ask you. Yes. And I'm confident that you will.
And I can also assist the commission by giving you a security company that is responsible for our own close monitoring, for our fence, for our own other extra security feature in the house.
Yes, please do that.
I will through my lawyers.
Would that be would the company that is there now, the security company, be the same one that would have been there at that time, or is it one that was contracted recently?
No, the company that does security services in terms of the guard of the house is different, because those are the people who are dealing with static. The company that deals with electrical and closed circuit monitoring and stuff, it's a different company.
Okay, no, that's fine. So do provide that information, and the
Yeah.
commission can look into that. Yes.
Now, you then proceed to deal with paragraphs 26 and 27. It is now, I'm looking at page 32 of the affidavit. Dealing with the paragraphs 22 and 26, this is about the analysis, the report that Agrizzi says you sought for securities at hospitals. And you
Paragraph
didn't.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Noche. Shouldn't we complete the aspect that relates to what Mr. Agrizzi and Mr. Richard Leroux and Mr. Charles Leroux say in terms of what they say was provided to the services that they say were provided to Ms. Mokonyane's home, because it's all connected. You have got Mr. Van Balen deposing to an affidavit dealing with that. You have got Mr. Charles Leroux saying certain things about his visits to the house inside. And so we can finish that part, and that's an important part.
Chair,
Finish that part rather than revisit it with each affidavit.
Chair, I left it because the way I understand the evidence, of Mrs. Mokonyane is that whatever was put there, it was not put at her request. The only incident that was requested was when there was a problem with the security fence, and therefore she denies all that the witnesses say was put.
Yes, no,
So-
I think we must deal with it nevertheless.
No, that's fine.
Let's go to it.
No, that's fine.
I won't necessarily go to the affidavits. Ms. Mokonyane, Mr. Richard Leroux, he was from Busasa, or rather, let me start by saying, Mr. Agrizzi says in one of his affidavits that Mr. Gavin Watson instructed him that he should put together a team that would effectively, I think, look after you in terms of maintenance of certain features in the house, security features and other things in the house. And Mr. Agrizzi says Mr. Richard Leroux from Busasa was the leader of that team. And he says, and Mr. Richard Leroux in his affidavit also says, they contracted another company to provide services, maintenance and other services to your home. And a certain Mr. Balion, I'm sure you have seen his affidavit,
Van Billion.
who now lives, I think, in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, explains in his affidavit how he got connected with Busasa. I think he says he did some work at Mr. Agrizzi's house, and he was connected to Mr. Richard Leroux, and his company did some work over a certain period of time in your residence. And he says initially he didn't know whose house it was, because he says he had been told not to ask questions about whose house this is. And he says, but he remembers the house, I think, quite well. He mentions certain features and the work that was done there. Mr. Van Balen, who was contacted by the commission, where he is, I think, in New Zealand, through investigation, puts up even invoices that he says he has been able to find relating to, I can't remember whether it's only those that relate to your house or also to other houses that he did at the time. He says, here are the invoices that relate to that address. And the invoices indicate the work that he says his company did. And they show the amount that they were going to charge. It's quite a few invoices there. They are all here. And then that's Mr. Van Balen. And he says he went to your house, it must be about, I think he says about 10 times over a certain period of time. Mr. Chalderu, who gave evidence here a few weeks ago, says Mr. Van Balen, I think, is his cousin or nephew. He worked for him or under him. So he says Mr. Van Balen would send him to a number of houses. He mentions other houses as well, but included among the houses is your house. And he specifies what he did on some of the occasions there. So the question that arises for me is whether you would say that these people must have done the work that they did in the house, but one, without your knowledge or instruction, authorization, or you say it's all fabrication. They could not have done that work in your house without you knowing about it. What do you say?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Once more, I want to state that issues of the security and the maintenance of the house have continuously been a responsibility of the father of the house. Also, there has been security companies that were sourced to provide these kind of services, including the maintenance of our own yard. First, it's a company, and then we've got people who are doing part-time, who came from that very company that was doing house maintenance. I've never instructed or actually requested anything to be done by Bosasa on my behalf, not even on the issue of the alarm, because I could not be reached at that time. I think I was at the Lekgotla or wherever, but I've never asked, nor have I actually been told by Bosasa the extent of the work that they have done in my yard.
Would it be fair to say that if your late husband had obtained the services of Bosasa, other than maybe that one occasion, to come and provide maintenance services in the house or to install any security features, that there is no way he would not have told you, because he would have known that you were close to Mr. Gavin Watson, who was the CEO of Bosasa.
Including himself.
He was
also,
also, yes.
He also knows Gavin
Yes.
Watson, he knows the Watson families.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's no way he would not have shared that with
Yes.
you. Yes. So I'm trying.
And on record, when the Sunday Times issued that statement and there were inquiries, he responded in a text message that is available to say he is responsible, he is the one who has appointed people that have been doing work, except for that particular intervention that we had asked them to do because of the challenges of the storm and the alarm that was actually going on and off in the house.
Of course, what both Mr. Van Biljon, yeah, it's
Van Biljon.
It's a difficult surname
Yes,
to
it's Van
pronounce
Biljon,
for
yes.
me. Yeah, both Mr. Van Biljon, and not both actually, Mr. Van Biljon, Mr. Charles Leroux, and Mr. Richard Leroux. They all say that payment for the services that were provided by this company of Mr. Biljon, those services were paid for by Busasa. Now, I guess that you won't be in a position to say whether Busasa paid that company or not, because you were not part of any arrangement.
We were not part of that arrangement,
Yes.
except the call that please come and help us, because
Yeah.
everybody was out in the area making interventions because of the storm. So I wouldn't.
Yes, yes. And I think from what you say, it's difficult to think that your husband would have arranged a company to come and do work, a company that was associated with Busasa, and he would not share that with you.
Yes, it's not a company that is associated with Busasa that has been doing work in the house.
No, what I mean is, if what Mr. Charles Leroux says, and if what Mr. Biljon says is factually true, namely, they did come to your house on the occasions that they came without your knowledge, they did the maintenance work that they say they did, and if indeed they installed any security features, I'm saying that there seems to be very little chance that they would have been asked by your late husband to come and do that if your husband would not mention that to you and they are connected with Busasa, if they are connected with Busasa, and if he knew that.
I would have known, but for now I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, yes. So as things stand, your position is you don't know of any arrangement in terms of which Mr. Van Biljon's company may have come to the house to perform any maintenance work. You did not ask them. You did not authorize them. Your husband never told you that he had anything to do with such a company, but he was responsible for security matters in the house. Is that right?
It is right, Chairperson.
Yes, yes. Okay. Mr. Nachi?
And just on that finishing of that, and it seems as if you cannot dispute that Van Biljon's company did the work at your place. You don't know. All you can say is you don't know whether they did or not.
Van Biljon was never asked by us to come and do work, nor have we ever been told that Van Biljon has come to do work, because amongst other things, for the record, Chair, we had a company called Mafuta, which is a company that was doing gardening services for my house. They've even gone to an extent where, after burying my own son, they actually went and helped us to stack the grave site and actually put stones and everything until the grave actually goes down. After that, we then got one of their employees, because the company was battling, who came in and was actually doing work in the yard. And as we speak now, that we now even have another person who's doing the part-time. So those are the ones that I can affirm.
But the reason I'm raising this is that Mr. Charles Leroux gave evidence one of the issues is one description of the house outside and the features that were there, which he went and pointed out. Can you dispute that he has been to your house?
I cannot dispute nor challenge whether he has been in the house, but he has never been in the house to do things on my instruction or in my knowledge.
And also, just to deal with the issue you raised about Mr. Alan Nixon, remember the investigator?
Oh, yes.
Yes. See, there's an affidavit of Mr. Richard Leroux. Remember, Mr. Richard Leroux is the Busasa person?
Let's go to that affidavit. What page is it?
Richard Leroux is the other.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the
Chair, I wonder whether I see that the first one here is that of Richard Leroux.
yes.
Can we quickly see whether there is anything to raise there on that one?
Richard Leroux.
Yeah, well, Ms. Mokonyane, I don't know if you have been able to find not the one for Charles Leroux, but the one for Richard Leroux.
Yes.
You have found it?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. It starts on on page 1 on this bundle that Mr. Noche, we haven't said what bundle it is.
Chair, this should be
Bundle C.
Bundle C.
Okay, so it will be
Because
bundle C. That's the bundle that has got Mr. Richard Leroux's affidavit. You know, on page 4 of that affidavit, paragraph 18, Mr. Richard Leroux says, as part of this maintenance, I used subcontractors such as Reni van Bellion and a person that worked with him by the name of Charles Leroux to perform some of the work at Nomvula Mokonyane's residence. This was mainly in respect of the lighting, electrics, the swimming pool, DB, the pond's electrical work, the generator, and the air conditioners. It is likely that Mr. Van Bellion purchased the equipment himself and then invoiced Busasa. These invoices were then mostly paid in cash. That is in paragraph 18, and then he says at 19, in relation to the maintenance at the blowback premises, I also dealt with Ms. Nomvula Mokonyane's personal assistant, Ms. Sandy Thomas, who would arrange for certain repairs and maintenance to be performed when needed. And in 20, he refers to a message. In this regard, I attach here to a copy of a WhatsApp message sent to me on 1 June 2017 by Ms. Sandy Thomas, which states, quote, Dear Richard, there is a problem at the house with the alarm system. For some reason, it keeps ringing. So now it has to be switched off at the switch. Please let me know what to do. So I thought I might read this, but the gist of it is something that I have put to you, that Richard Leroux was employed by Busasa, and he says he used Mr. Van Bellion's company, and he refers to Mr. Charles Leroux as well, for purposes of performing some of the work which he says they performed on behalf of Bosasa. You might need to say something, or you might say the response you gave earlier on stands.
Chairperson, the response I have given earlier still stands.
Yes, yes.
And hence, even in his response,
Yes.
he doesn't elaborate on anything further than saying the alarm is sorted out.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Now, I just want to also understand something. Mr. Noche referred earlier on, I think it was before lunch, to a message from Ms. Sandy Thomas, your PA, to Richard Leroux. This is the same Richard Leroux, I believe. And you said something about it. I seem to think you said there had been a storm or flooding or something like that. Did I understand you correctly?
This is the message, Chair.
This is the message?
Yes.
Yes.
When the alarm was going on and off, because there was a tree that had fallen on the fence.
Yes.
And then the second one is that Mr. Agrizzi was talking about the email.
Yes.
About the ANC's election.
Yes.
Which I have also not denied and said it does not show anything about me having asked favors from them. It was again in the operation of the work that has been done, and that was it.
Yes.
And for the record, he was not even talking to me directly. I used my personal assistant, as like people will know, being a busy person. Then communication, including the personal assistant's responsibility, is to render service to the family of the executive.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Mr. Noche, you may proceed to...
Just was on there, Chair.
But before you go to Mr. Richard Leroux, I think I have something on Mr. Van Bailion. I just want to refer to some of the matters that he deals with. On what page is his affidavit?
Mr. Van Bailion, Mrs. Mokonyane, is that file?
Is it a different bundle?
Yes, it's bundle A, Leah bundle A. Mr. Van Bailion will be bundle A T14. Look at it.
Well, you started with bundle B earlier on.
Yes.
And I thought you said that was because in other proceedings, bundle A had been identified.
Yes, this is the bundle A.
This is the same bundle A.
This is the bundle. Remember, Chair, you'll see there. It was when Charles Leroux gave evidence.
Yes.
He's
the one.
He's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then remember, in it, they had been put under 13, and then we gave directions that they should be broken up, the affidavits, into different Ts. So Mr. Rene Van Bailion is T14.
Is it T14?
T14, yes.
Okay. Have you found it, Mr. Mokonyane? Yes, thank you. I think that Mr. Van Bailion says that he is a qualified electrician and during 2015 he got a call out on a Saturday at Mr. Agrizzi's house. That's how he made contact with Mr. Agrizzi, and he ultimately met Mr. Leroux. And he says in paragraph 6, to my knowledge, I was doing the work for Bosasa as a subcontractor, and the usual manner in which we operated was as follows. Mr. Leroux would inform me of an address where services were to be provided, and I would meet him on site. 6.2, I would evaluate the work to be done and then quote Bosasa for this work, stipulating the items required, such as CCTV fittings and the like. 6.3, I would not stipulate the residential address on the quotation, but would simply refer to Bosasa on the quotation. For example, if the pumps for water fishers had to be changed at a residence, the heading on the quotation would merely state, quote, water fisher pump, close quote. 6.4, as a freelance electrician, I subcontracted, and it was normal for me to quote by simply placing quotation marks, water pump replace, close quotation marks, as the wording on the quote and invoice. These were never high-value jobs. 6.5, in certain instances, I would purchase spares or equipment in order to effect the repairs, and in other instances, Bosasa would purchase the items and provide these to me. I would then commence with the work and invoice Bosasa after completion. He says, all of the quotations and invoices were made out to either Bosasa or Cash and or Richard. 6.7, there was normally no mention of the address where the work was provided on the quotation or invoice. I recall this as I had to redo certain quotations and invoices, making sure that there was no mention of the address. These instructions were given to me by Mr. Leroux. I would email the quotations and invoices to Mr. Leroux, who would then arrange for payment into my account. And then he has a heading, work performed at Minister Mokonyane's residence. I recall that I performed work at house number, he gives the address. The Commission's investigation team has provided me with photographs of a house which depicts the entrance and outside of a house attached here to as Annex RVB1. I confirm that this is the house situated at, he gives the address where I performed the work. And then later on, he says, below, that is 14, below is a list of some of the things I recall doing at the house. 14.1, repaired and reprogrammed the generator changeover. 14.2, replaced the distribution board for the swimming pool. Replaced the outside stair lights leading to the house. Repaired the electric fence. Called out to repair the air conditioning system one night. Called out to repair the generator one night. Replaced and rewired some of the water fishers. He says I would estimate that I went to the Blueback site to perform work there on approximately 10 occasions. Then he says at 16.1, I've searched for and located certain quotations and invoices for the work performed at, and he gives the address, and have managed to locate the following. And then he has got dates there and the invoice numbers, one of which is on the 9th of October 2014. He says he inspected generator alternator. And then on the 15th of October 2014, it says generator has been tested and is 100% operational. A separate test report will be mailed. And then 10 October 2015, replace pool DB. 15 October 2014, replace pool DB. 18 April 2015, repairs to lighting. And he gives the amounts that he charged for the work. So I just wanted to indicate that these are the details that, or some of the details that he puts up to say he was there, he did the work. He says he did it on the instructions of Bosasa. He doesn't say on your instructions. He did it on the instructions of Bosasa. I assume that your position is what you said earlier on.
Chairperson, yes. I do want to affirm what I've said earlier on. But if you also go back to his affidavit on page 3,
Yes.
On paragraph 12, he says, on one occasion I was called to the house one evening to attend to the backup power system and met Serge. He was a friendly guy, but he didn't mention his surname and didn't mention his wife's position. So it had nothing to do with my status. It had nothing to do with who I am. And as he says, he was never even been informed that he's going to be working in the house of the minister or an MEC. And as I've said, I know nothing about these things. They are not in my space of responsibility and to my knowledge.
Thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Noche.
Chair, sorry, Mrs. Mokonyane, I just want to take you, sorry, man. I want to take you back to bundle C, Richard Leroux's affidavit. That's the page that the chairperson referred you to. Look at paragraph 20 of that page, page 4 of that affidavit. You have it?
Yes, I have it.
Look at paragraph 20.
Yes, I have it.
Just only, I want you to just to explain to the chair this. This is a WhatsApp message sent to Richard Leroux by Sandy. Sandy says, I want to read it again. Dear Richard, there is a problem at the house with the alarm system. For some reason, it keeps ringing, so now it has to be switched off at the switch. Please let me know what to do. You read that?
Yes, I did.
From my reading, I mean, you could perhaps explain this. It seems as if she is reporting this for the first time, that there's a problem in the house.
She was actually indicating that as she was referred to talk to this person, and hence even the person then responded and said the alarm is sorted out. And in all his affidavit, it doesn't then further indicate that he was then contacted by Sandy to then come and do ABCD after he had dealt with this matter.
But also here, what I notice, again, perhaps you'll help the commission. He says there's a problem at the house. He doesn't say which house, as if Leroux knows the house.
There's only one house, and that house is my house. And I take it because Sandy didn't just talk to him. Sandy was asked to communicate with Busasa because they were the guys available also in the vicinity over and above other security companies. And surely he was, I don't know how he came to know which house, but it does show that there was communication about the house that is being referred to.
Does it not, again, you tell me if I'm wrong and explain, does this not indicate that Richard Leroux is referred to a house he had been to before? Because he's not told which house, but he says there's a problem with the house, and he responds, the alarm is sorted.
There might have been telephonic conversations that then ended up with a WhatsApp. I cannot attest whether he has been to the house or not been to the house. And I've also said, never have I called them, nor have I met them in my house.
Now,
of course, Richard Leroux, that your PA talks to or sends a message to, happens to be the same man that Mr. Agrizzi has said was given the responsibility to lead a team or to be responsible for attending to certain things in the house. It is the same person.
That is Agrizzi's story, Chairperson.
Yes, yes.
All I know is an instance where the alarm had gone on and off, and it needed an intervention because of the challenge that we're faced with.
Yes.
Any other thing, Chair, as it is stated even here, I've never been in touch with Billion. I've never been in touch with anyone. And as they also attest, they actually interacted with the father of the house.
Now, whilst you are on that affidavit, turn to page 2 of the affidavit of Leroux. There, he seems to explain what, you remember you had referred the chair to Mr. Nixon's affidavit regarding the invoices. Paragraph 11, Mr. Richard Leroux says the following: I'm unable to match any invoices to the work done at Nomvula Mokonyane's residence.
I'm sorry. Where are you reading from now?
It's Richard Leroux's affidavit, Chair.
Charles Leroux.
Richard
Leroux.
Richard Leroux.
Hang on 1 second. Oh. Okay, I'm there.
Now, he says on page 2,
So that Richard Leroux's affidavit is in bundle B.
bundle C.
No, it's B.
Richard Leroux, shall we? Bundle C.
What do you have, Ms. Mokonyane?
Anginababo bundle, I only have exhibit T21.
Oh, okay. We need to
Shall
make sure
we-
that has what. Earlier on, I wrote bundle B because I believe that's what you said. Did I
No, bundle B, Chair,
confuse
is
things?
Mrs.
It's
Mokonyane's.
the big one, yeah.
Yeah, the big one is bundle B, and then that's
So
bundle
this
C.
is, what bundle is this? It's
Bundle C.
Oh,
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Chair.
okay. Just for the purposes of the record, wherever I have referred to bundles B as being the bundle where Mr. Richard Leroux's affidavit is, that was a mistake. It should have been bundle C. Okay, all right. You said paragraph 11.
Paragraph 11 on page 2 of.
Yeah.
Then I start reading. This is the affidavit of Richard Leroux. He says, I'm unable to match any invoices to the work done at Nomvula Mokonyane's residence in Blowberg. And then as the work was performed in 2013, and the invoices from Regal Security are from 2014 onwards. And then paragraph 12, it appears that the Agrizzi cash account was opened with Regal Security in 2014. Prior to this, we may have purchased items for special projects from Regal Security under a different name. I'm referring the witness to this because he had referred the chairperson to the affidavit of Nixon. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Ms. Mokonyane, my Bantu education caught up with me there, sorry. I referred to her as he, I said he instead of she.
Yeah.
I apologize for my education.
Yeah. Okay.
And she had referred he had referred you to page 158, wherein Mr. Nixon had said the purchases of the CCTVs from Regal Security made on the Agrizzi account cannot be matched to security installations. So here he seems to be explaining that gap.
Mm-hmm.
You understand, Ms. Mokonyane, what I'm
do
just
un-
referring you to this.
Yes, I hear.
Yeah.
Now, before I leave that affidavit, I'm sorry, that affidavit, Ms. Mokonyane, is the chair referred you to the same affidavit where Mr. Leroux says he must have gone to your house not less than 10 times. You would not dispute that?
I do not know, and often.
I'm sorry, I think that was Mr. Van Billion who
Van
said
Billion.
no.
So sorry, I
Yeah.
beg your pardon, Mr. Van Billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't dispute that?
I wouldn't know that. And when he says it was also those minor jobs that they were doing, there is nowhere where I see any instruction that came from either my husband or myself, as I have been brought to this commission now to come and attest to that.
Now, Ms. Mokonyane, let's go back to your affidavit, now to bundle B.
You were going to Mr. Charles Leroux's affidavit. Or have you been there without
Chair,
me
no,
seeing?
what I did is I took your summary of Charles Leroux, and I thought the witness had then dealt with it in the sense that
No, I think I dealt with, didn't I deal with Van Balen only?
he dealt with Van Buren, but then summarized.
Let's go to Chandleru.
Charles Leroux is in, look at the plastic bundle.
I think you must deal with Chandleru.
No, that's fine. Mokonyane, Mr. Charles Leroux testified, and he also gave a statement, and he testified. If you look at bundle A, at T13, page 4 of that bundle. Wherein he deals with the repairs at your house.
What page did you say we must go to?
Page 4 of
Yeah.
T13 in bundle A.
Yes.
Are you there, Mrs. Mokonyane?
Yes, I am.
Under D repairs and maintenance at your house. It says I'm reading this, on an occasion during 2017 or 2018, I was again contacted by Mr. Van Billion to go to the premises situated at Noordhevel, where I was to meet Mr. Leroux. Indeed, I did, in fact, meet Mr. Leroux there, and he arranged for us to enter the premises. The premises, I recall, had a high fence and a guardhouse to the left side at the entrance. There was a guard post at the guard house. Do you have any comment about that?
There is a guardhouse. And
Yeah.
there is always a guard.
Then he says, here I recall, I'm now reading paragraph 17. Here I recall that the generator would not start on automatic when the power went out. So the occupants had to go outside to start the generator. The generator was situated behind the garage in a cage with wires fed through the wall into the garage where they were connected to the control panel. I had difficulty in resolving the problem, so Mr. Van Billion came to assist. Do you have any comments? Particularly, do you confirm that your generator at some stage had a problem?
The generator has had challenges like any other, machine. And as I have indicated, this was the responsibility of my own late husband, as he has also confirmed that he was responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance of the house. And of course, the generator is behind the house, not even behind the garage. It's at the back of the house. And I think when the investigators went, they saw the generator. I want to assume, because I was never there, I was not in their company.
And you confirm that it's in a cage with wires fed through the wall into the garage?
Yes, it is wired. It also has the wires not in the garage, not inside the garage. The wires and everything of the generator is on a shade next to the garage.
They are fed through from the generator to the shed.
Yes.
Now he says on page 18, we replaced the lights fitted to the side of the walls on either side of the stairs. The original lights were old and not functioning properly, so we replaced them with new round lights. We also replaced blown globes, and I recall carrying out repairs on the fountain situated in the corner. Let's just stop before you deal with the blown globes. You confirm that the lights on the stairs had problems and they had to be replaced. Do you know about that?
Even now, post the death of my husband, we do actually do the maintenance of the globes, and it's common cause that globes will go on and off. But for this particular mission, not to my knowledge.
But you would confirm that there are lights that are fitted on the side of the walls on either side of the stairs?
There are those lights on the staircases getting into the house.
And he says, we also repaired blown globes, and I recall carrying out repairs on the fountain situated in a corner. I recall that we had to fit a small pump to the fountain in order to pump the water out, and then I think I repaired some lights in the fountain. Here, Mrs. Mokonyane, do you confirm you have a fountain situated in the corner of your premises?
We've got a fountain with 3 pots at the back of the house. That's a fact. Big brown pots. We have a fish pond next to the swimming pool. And those are the features. And then we have a little corner of a fountain that has never been put to use. One, because we wanted to save water. And secondly, because it was not of any use to us, because it's obscured. It's far from our side and from any view.
Do you have
It's not even in use as we speak.
Do you have of any knowledge of works done on a pump situated at the corner?
No, I have no knowledge, Chairperson, as I have no knowledge of them being contracted to come and do this job.
Then he said, we carried out maintenance on about 4 occasions during a 1-month period, as we had other work that we were busy with. So we returned when we had the time. On other occasions, Mr. Leroux did not accompany us, and I would hoot at the gate where the guard would let us in. Do you know about this?
No, I don't know. I never was part of arranging their visits.
But you would confirm that the guards wouldn't just let anyone there, they would let someone they've been authorized to admit to your house, to your premises.
Of course, nobody would have easy access. They would have to be granted access by the security guards, as it is part of their responsibility.
And would it be correct that the security guards would not allow anybody in that the family or somebody in the family has not said should be allowed in?
Yes.
Yeah. So if they allowed anybody in, it would have had to be.
It would have
that
to be arranged.
Either somebody in the family had authorized.
Yes.
Yeah. And in terms of maintenance work or the installation of anything, would it be correct to think that the only persons who could authorize in the house would be either yourself or your late husband, or could there have been somebody else who could authorize or make those arrangements?
I would never make any authorization.
You would not make any authorization. But in terms of people entering the house to carry out anything like that, if you wouldn't make any authorization, then it would have had to be your late husband?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Now, paragraph 19 on page 5, Chair, says, Mr. Leroux and Mr. Van Billion had also informed me from the outset that I must not ask questions about who the owner was, and that I should never admit or disclose what work I had carried out at the premises. Whilst working in the garage, I noticed what appeared to be a vehicle covered in a trampoline. Out of curiosity, I lifted the trampoline up and noticed a new-looking Aston Martin vehicle parked under the trampoline. The vehicle was dark in color and could have been either dark blue or black. I then knew that the person residing at the premises had to be very rich to afford a vehicle like that.
Chairperson, yes, there is an Aston Martin. The Aston Martin is neither black or blue. It is cream white. And cream white, black and blue actually depicts that maybe the person was informed or the person was inside the garage. But the fact that he wants to assert on record in his affidavit that he has sworn his oath of, I don't know whether he affirmed or he did whatever. He says it was it was either dark or blue. There's never been that kind of an Aston Martin in my house.
So when he gave evidence here, it was the day after he had been part of the visit to your house. That is Mr. Charles Leroux. And I think he said that when they made that visit to your house recently, they did see an Aston Martin, but he said, I think he said it was white.
Yes.
Either he said that or Mr. Noche said that, I can't remember.
He said, the witness said that.
Yes, and then he was asked the question that in his affidavit earlier, he had said that he had seen an Aston Martin that was either blue or black. And he then seemed unsure. I think he might have said he's not sure whether the one he had seen was black or blue. I don't know whether he said or white, because I think I even said, but there's a big difference between blue or black and white. So he became unsure when he was giving evidence here. But the question that I want to pose, and maybe you have answered it, is at the time, he's talking about 2015, or is it 2014, Mr., or is it 2017?
2017, 2018.
There was no Aston Martin in the family that could have been in the garage that was dark or
There was
black.
never a dark or blue Aston Martin
Yes.
even at that time,
Yes.
Chairperson, which also demonstrates that he might have been misleading this commission because he's referring to the connections of the generator inside the garage, when the connections have always been outside of the garage. Also, I just take exception that he even went to an extent of, they say curiosity has killed the cat. He went and even lifted the cover of the car, but he still saw black or blue and not saw white. There's never been such a color of an Aston Martin in my house.
Okay, all right. Yes, Mr. Noche?
And just tell the commission, this Aston Martin, is it registered? In what color was it registered?
It's registered in cream, the same colors that were found the time when the commission went to visit my house. It has never been sprayed, it has never been changed, there's always been that color.
I see.
How long have you had it?
From 2013.
From 2013?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Mokonyane, I didn't think that this would be an issue. Whilst you are on the bundle A, you still have bundle A there with Mr. Van B. Yes, that bundle.
Yes.
Can we go to Exhibit T16, inspection in local?
What page?
Page T16?
316.
No, T16, Exhibit T16. Sorry, Chair, I tend to wander off.
No, there's no Exhibit T16.
On bundle
Bundle A,
A.
what page on Bundle A?
The pages, Chair, on bundle A, they go according to the exhibits in. Does Chair know, is there no 16?
Why is that so? Because I've been saying that that should not be like that.
Chair, if I
It should
recall,
be sequential.
Chair, I recall you gave instructions that, you remember this bundle came as T13. Then you said it should be broken up into, like, T13 would be Charles Leroux's affidavit, T14 would be the statements of 1 billion, T15 will be foreign affidavit of 1 billion, and then T16 is the memorandum on the inspection in loco.
Okay, I see this document with a memorandum here, with an index. Well, not even marked in terms of page numbers at the top.
I don't
Or there
understand
is
how.
one. Remember, so it's a document written T16 hyphen MIIL hyphen 01.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, something should have been done to make sure that this would be user-friendly. Okay, let's get going. Yes, just continue.
Are you there, Mrs. Mokonyane?
Yes, I am. Chair.
Okay. Look at it, but this is the, okay, let me explain to you. This is a memorandum which was assigned by both representatives of the commission and your representatives about the observations that were made at your place. Now look at paragraph 2 on page 01.
Yes.
It says generator situated behind the garage in a cage with wires fed through the wall into the garage where they are connected to the control panel.
Yes. It's that shade, because remember the garages have got those doors.
Yes.
And there's that shade that I'm referring to, which can be referred to as a garage, but it's a shade. It does not even have, what to call it, it does not even have doors.
A door, yeah, okay.
But this observation confirms Charles Leroux's affidavit.
But this observation actually talks about the control panel. That control panel, it's still, as we speak now, in orange. It's on that shade, which may be seen as the fourth garage, the fourth door. And that's why I accepted this information.
Chair, with your leave, then I will move back to the statement of.
Which bundle are you moving to
Now
now?
I'll move back to the main bundle. And
Are you done with
just
Mr.
one
Charles
second.
Leroux?
Just 1 second before I do that. If we just sticking to bundle A, the affidavit of Charles Leroux, paragraph 20 immediately says that, are you there?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Yes.
Did you
At the
say
bottom.
page 20?
No, paragraph 20 of Charles Leroux,
Yeah.
which is page 5. He says, I never saw the owner of the premises, as when I would go there, only the maid and the security guard would be present. You see that?
Yes, I see. Yes, I see that, Chair.
And just on this, I mean, the person who works there as a helper, I'm sure if there were people who are unauthorized who had gone to your house, she would report it to you.
They will report to the immediate person who would be the owner of the house, especially on matters related to maintenance and the upkeeping of the security of the house. Not to me.
What appears to be indisputable, and you must tell me if you agree with me, what appears to be indisputable is that this Mr. Van Balen's company did some work in your residence, performed some jobs, and that Mr. Van Balen and or Mr. Charles Leroux and Mr. Richard Leroux from Busas all had been to your house and that Mr. Van Balion, as the owner of the company, says for the work that they did in your house, they were paid by Busasa. And he says they were there because Busasa instructed them to go there. Now, you have already said that you don't know whether they were there or they were not there. This did not fall within your responsibility. It fell within your late husband's responsibility. And if anybody came to do this kind of work, it would have fallen under the responsibility of your late husband. But you have also said if he had arranged for a company that was connected with Busasa in one way or another to come and perform some work, he probably would have shared that with you. So far, are you with me?
I am with you.
You are with me. Are you able to accept that maybe what I've just said is what happened? What remains maybe is whether your husband actually made the arrangement for these people to come.
Chairperson, the fact that I know, and as I've said, even in reaction to the Sunday Times, was that my husband said, these people are crazy. He is responsible for the upkeep, the security, and everything. They might have been to the house because of the challenge of that alarm that went on and off. And upon them being in the house, they might have then done all these things, but not as per my instruction and not to my knowledge.
Excuse me. The fact that your late husband said at the time of the Sunday Times article or report, effectively that these people are talking nonsense, can I take it that what he meant was, I don't know anything about these people coming to the house? Can I take it to mean that, or what should I take it to mean?
I take it to mean that he has never asked them to come and do any work in the house.
In the house.
Other than that intervention as recorded in the text from Saint.
Yes, because you see, and I've got to put these things to you so that you can assist me, because in the end, when all of you are gone, I'm the one who will remain with the responsibility to say what actually happened here. If the position is that Mr. Van Balion's company did come to your house, did perform certain jobs other than the single incident that you have referred to, and your husband had not arranged for them to come, and you had not arranged for them to come, the question arises, who would have arranged for them to come? Because the guard, the security at the gate, as I understand it, would not allow anybody to come in unless they had authority from within the family to say, allow so-and-so to come in.
Chairperson, as I've said, and as one of the people has indicated, they came to the house in one instance, and that's when they met the person who introduced himself as Serge. And that is the instance. I don't know whether it was at a time when they were coming to fix what we had asked them to come and deal with or not. And that in the course of doing that, they then saw all these features in the house and whatever that happened there. I don't know, Chairperson.
Thank you. Mr. Noche?
Now, Mrs. Panya, let's go back to bundle B, the main file. You can put the others away for now. Now, Mr. Agrizzi, in his main affidavit, on paragraph 22.6 and 22.7, refers to,
Konje, it's what, it's 6 or it's 7?
yeah,
I'm sorry, Mr. Noche and Ms. Mokonyane. We have just gone past 4 o'clock. We normally stop at 4. So if we are going to go beyond 4 o'clock, let me make sure that everybody is happy with that. Starting with you, Ms. Mokonyane, are you happy that we proceed?
I am happy, Chair.
You are happy?
Yes.
Okay. Your legal team? Thank you, thank you. Mr. Noche, you are available.
I have no choice.
Yeah. Maybe let's have an idea. I don't think we should take too long, but Mr. Noche might have a different view. But it's important that all important issues be covered, and Ms. Mokonyane should be able to deal with all of them and put her side of the story properly. But since we are going to proceed, maybe we should take a short comfort break, and then we can continue. I don't know, but my estimate is that once we resume, we should not take longer than an hour. That's
It shouldn't be more than,
it should not, yeah.
but it depends on
Yeah.
it shouldn't be more than an hour.
Okay, no, that's all right. Let's take a break. It's now about 10 past 4. Let's resume at 25 past 4. We adjourn.
All rise.
with the additional affidavit that Mr. Agrizzi made. The additional affidavit, supplementary affidavit appears, Chair, on page 388.1 of the record.
When you say off the record, you are going to confuse
Of bundle B.
What page?
388.1. It starts there.
Yes.
Please wait for me. 381.
388.1. That's Mr. Agrizzi's supplementary affidavit. Well, the number is in the middle of the page. It's not at the corner. That's,
Oh, yeah.
That's the one
Yes,
we
thank
talked
you, I
about in
found-
the morning.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
looking on the side. Yes, Chair.
Now on page 389 of that affidavit, Mr. Agrizzi deals with, the chair referred you to this issue, where it reads, I was present, I'm reading Mr. Agrizzi's affidavit. It says, I was present when cash was delivered on 2 occasions. The one was in Bryanston, while she was premier. We had to meet her with the MEC of Social Development. The meeting was regarding incidents at the Youth Development Center at Mokonyane, where we had to assist in accommodating youth from another state-run facility. We sat in the lounge for about 2 hours waiting. Thereafter, we had a meeting with her. Gavin Watson had earlier that day packed 50,000 rand in a gray security bag and placed it in his briefcase. Once the meeting was concluded, he left the gray bag with the 50,000 rand with her on the chair.
Chairperson, I still deny
Yeah.
what Mr. Agrizzi is saying. I've never received cash, and there's no cash that was ever left on the chair
Yes.
by Mr. Gavin Watson.
And you said he has never been to your house.
He has never been in a meeting with me
In a, yeah.
in my
yeah.
house.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Noshi.
And then in paragraph 14.3 of his supplementary affidavit, he then says that on the second occasion, when the money was delivered to a house, and he was present and in Krugersdorp, and you say he has never been to your house.
I've not been in a meeting, nor with Mr. Agrizzi in my presence in my house. Not even received that cash that he's referring to.
Now, in his answer to your affidavit, his answer on page 81,
I'm sorry, which affidavit?
now the answer where Mr. Agrizzi answers to Mrs. Mokonyane's answering affidavit.
On this issue.
Yes.
But we know that he can only be answering to a denial that he has. I think just go there. What does he say?
No, he just immediately expatiates to say you've been there a number of times.
Yeah.
And I'm only referring it just to put it on record.
Yeah.
And
No, it's
unfortunately,
fine. Yes.
unfortunately,
I think it's fine because there are these crisp issues that we all have come to know. We know that Mr. Agrizzi said Ms. Mokonyane was given monthly payments by Busasa. She has denied that. We know that Mr. Agrizzi said he has been to both business meetings and social visits or social meetings or encounters with Ms. Mokonyane. She has denied that. We know that Mr. Agrizzi said he was even present. Actually, I think he said he coordinated Ms. Mokonyane's 50th birthday celebration party, and Ms. Mokonyane said, no, there's nothing like that. So there are these things that we know already. Agrizzi has said, and Ms. Mokonyane has denied them. So we don't need to repeat those, but you can move from there. The one about receiving cash, I don't think he elaborates much, Agrizzi.
All he does, where I was referring to now, is, but it's an issue we've dealt with where he then describes Mrs. Mokonyane's house inside.
Yeah,
But Mrs. Mokonyane
well,
dealt with it.
We have dealt with that.
We've dealt
yeah,
with that issue.
Yeah, because there it's a question of whether it's true that Mr. Agrizzi has been to Ms. Mokonyane's house, and if it is true, whether it's true that Mr. Galvin left money or a security bag with 50,000 rand for Ms. Mokonyane, and Ms. Mokonyane's version in regard to that has been given.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Chair, I will leave those and then just deal with the.
No,
the
that's
issues.
fine, yeah, where there is elaboration, if it's the same thing,
Yes.
if there is elaboration that we haven't touched on, then we
Yes,
can
yes.
deal with that, to avoid going back to the
Yes,
same thing.
I understand. Now, on on 14.5, on page 391 of Mr. Agrizzi's.
Hang on one second, Ms. Mokonyane, were you still wanting
Yes,
to
I'm
attend to
looking for my
something?
pump chair.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was not looking, Vanessa. Sorry,
Yeah,
I beg
we'll
your
wait
pardon.
for you.
Can we switch the camera?
Okay. Thank you, and you must indicate if you need short adjournment or anything. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay.
You're fine, okay. Okay.
You've got to take water to push it down.
No, I don't have to drink water.
You don't have
It must
to.
actually
Oh,
help
shame.
to, yes.
Oh,
Doesn't
okay.
have to go to the stomach. It must,
Oh, okay, I thought you one had to take water. Okay.
No.
Yes, Mr. Nosha.
Now, here Mr. Agrizzi seems to be dealing with the issue of the food that was, food and liquor that was delivered. On paragraph 14.15, page 391 of Mr. Agrizzi's supplementary affidavit. He says, on one example of the demand from Ms. Mokonyane is attached here too as Annexure FF. Now, if we go to Annexure FF,
It's one example of what?
he deals above, Chair, with the issue of the purchase of food products, meat, hampers, liquor, and other items as set out in his original affidavit. Now he says then, as an example of the demand from Mrs. Mokonyane, he refers us to a document which is marked FF, which is on page 397. Are you there, Ms. Mokonyane?
Yes, I am.
Seems to be an email from you to Mr. Agrizzi on the 13th of April 2012. You remember what is this email about?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. As it is indicated here, the responses that have come and the communication was between Ms. Ndaba and the people that were relevant. And all that they needed was to make sure that there is interaction between those people and the people in Bosasa. And all I did, which I can't also recall what it had to do with, the information that is here reflects that I just forwarded, and I didn't even make a comment on the matter.
Who is Ms. Ndaba?
She is a South African, a member of parliament.
Oh, okay. Mr. Noche,
Yes.
you,
Now, this is what I just want to find out.
I'm sorry, I just said Miss Noche.
Ms. Mokonyane will be very unhappy.
Good for him.
Just to,
So we're square, now,
Yeah.
now we're level.
I wanted to say, tell us more about that Anisha FF, Mr. Noche. Mr. Agrizzi says it's an example of a demand from Ms. Mokonyane.
Yes. Now, the only,
Is it a demand?
it doesn't, on the face of it, it doesn't contain a demand. But what it does, Chair, and I wanted to ask Ms. Mokonyane to perhaps to help us with this, it seems as if it's a communication between her and Mr. Agrizzi. Now, I wanted to Mr. Mokonyane to confirm, were you communicating with Mr. Agrizzi in 2012, like here, the 13th of April 2012?
Mm-hmm. I forwarded this, message was forwarded from my gadget at that time, and all the details thereof, I don't even know any basis thereof, and I'm definitely sure it had to do with the body of what is on the email and the interest of those people who wanted to find South African partners.
What I'm saying is, who would have forwarded from your email address to Mr. Agrizzi, except you?
I'm saying, Chairperson, surely I would have spoken to Gavin, who would have maybe said, send this thing to Angelo, to Mr. Agrizzi, and that is all that happened, and that was the end of this conversation, as you can see here, even on the letter. There wasn't any further contact and communication. Even Mr. Agrizzi himself can attest. I've never, since that instance, there was never any other interaction with me because I had nothing to do or to show any benefit or interest in it.
Mr. Noche, is this not the document in respect of which Mr. Agrizzi says reflects a possible business venture that he says Ms. Mokonyane wanted Bosasa to go into, or is that another document?
No, it's another document. This
is
one
not
is,
the one.
this one is just, he says Mrs. Mokonyane he puts it up as proof of demand.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, Mrs. Mokonyane, even in her reply that he says, well, this document, I'm not demanding anything. But what I wanted, the explanation now she has given, is I wanted to find out whether by that time he was conducting Mr. Agrizzi as shown in the email.
Okay. All right. Move on.
Now the issue is on paragraph 15 of the supplementary affidavit, page 392. Then, Mr. Page 392 of the supplementary affidavit. There, in general terms, he says that the The question was, he must elaborate on what basis did Busasa continue looking after Nomvula Mokonyane and her needs, requirement, and wishes. He says, well, Ms. Mokonyane was a known and a very powerful person in South Africa. She had influence over the former president of South Africa. I think you have dealt with this.
We
And
have.
in your answer, you, on page 35 of your answer,
I think Ms. Mokonyane already gave evidence earlier to say Mr. Agrizzi gives, I'm putting it in my own words, credit that she doesn't deserve, to say she's so influential. Am I right?
Yes, you are right, Chairperson.
Yes,
It's
yes.
the credit that I don't even need coming from him.
Yes.
Secondly, on the very issue that he's referring to, it's also a demonstration that it's about expediency and opportunism in the character of Mr. Agrizzi. These matters of the Department of Environmental Affairs don't rest with a minister. And I found these processes in the department, but even during my tenure, it was at a time when Minister Lindiwe Zulu was the acting minister, and there's never been any decision around this particular matter that had to do with Nomvula. But it was good to make the headlines and to, again, go for my character.
Mr. Nosher?
and then on page, Mr. Agrizzi deals with the issue on page 86 of the main bundle. Where he says that I have on paragraph 50,
Paragraph 15.
paragraph 50, Chair, on page 086.
Are we still on the same bundle?
On the same bundle,
What page?
page 086, page 86.
Yeah, I think forget about 0, just 86, so that we are consistent.
Yes.
86. Okay. Yes, continue.
Where he says, on paragraph 50, I have no knowledge of the SIU investigation into Nomvula Paula Mokonyane's department, save for the above. I deny the contents of this paragraph. I confirm that I was personally present with the late Gavin Watson and Nomvula Mokonyane when the SIU investigation, as well as the prosecution and the status thereof, was discussed by Nomvula Paula Mokonyane with us. That is his response. He says he was there and he discussed this with you.
Chair, as I have stated previously, I have no such authority. I've never been part of the criminal justice system cluster. I have never been in any meeting with any of those that are responsible for investigations, including in the SIU. And I still want to affirm that he is actually lying. I have no such influence to the extent that Mr. Agrizzi wants to portray about me.
Now, in your
He says
affidavit,
somewhere,
you did-
I'm sorry, he says somewhere you had direct access to the erstwhile president, Jacob Zuma. What do you say about that?
You know, I even had direct access to President Mandela. There's a picture in Lutuli House, Chair,
Yes.
of us coming from Polokwane, post the national conference in Polokwane. myself and other comrades who were assigned a responsibility went to the residence of President Nelson Mandela to go and prepare and make sure that the NEC comes and present ourselves to the President as it was a decision of the newly elected NEC. Chair, I have also had contact, and just like any other African National Congress member and a leader in that regard, been able also to interact with President Thabo Mbeki's office on many issues, including issues that are related to the youth programs, the AIDS awareness programs, the issues around housing, and so on and so forth during his tenure. And hence I'm saying I've also been victimized as a Thabo Mbeki project that was called a project, the 1996 class project. That's me. Because of how I always carry myself, I remain loyal to the organization. I remain loyal to the leaders of the organization. The same with President Thabo, the same with Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe within his short stint as the president. So I have done that. Chair, same with President Jacob Zuma. And as I have said, I had preferred Comrade Jacob Zuma in line with the processes of the African National Congress. I have supported President Jacob Zuma as I have supported even the current president who is now under attack. You can see how the media is now going for him. Because I do believe internal party democracy. So the access has been like that. But you know, for the record, I've never been to any of those national events that President Zuma will host in Gandla and all those things. I would relate with President Jacob Zuma and even call him Ubaba in the same spirit as any other person who would have done it. I think Mr. Agrizzi is taking chances, and maybe it is because this is all about trying to pin me down as somebody who had an influence over President Jacob Zuma to an extent that I did not have.
Yes, Mr. Nosho.
And as I'm saying, Chair, with your permission, as we speak now, you know, I would call officials of the ANC because of the responsibility I have now and ask the Secretary General to say, come, we are meeting with Province X, join us on Zoom. They will do that. The President himself, I've been, during this period of lockdown, on behalf of the ANC's organizing committee, gone all out to get our President to come in and hear from our own members of the ANC in the various provinces about the state of organization and what is happening under lockdown during this particular pandemic. And we'll communicate. Communicate even when there's agency, I would even send a message directly to him, knowing where I stood in terms of the preferences. Surely somebody will see me as a traitor, but it is because of who I am and how I understand the workings of the ANC. And therefore, I take serious exception, but I will continue to respect President Zuma as I've respected President Thabo Mbeki, President Motlanthe, and President Nelson Mandela.
Yes, Mr. Nosho.
And then on the same page of the supplementary affidavit,
What is it?
I'm sorry, it's staggered on 392. Just a one-liner.
Three?
392, Chair.
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Paragraph 15.3, it says, on diverse occasions, the discussion with Mokonyane and Watson pertained to finalizing the closure of the SIU matter, even to that extent where a meeting was arranged with Anwar Dramat, the then national head of the Hawks. This was in order to get them to return the Bosasa docket to Advocate Nomgcobo Chiba so that she could arrange for the matter not to be proceeded with. Now you respond to that. On You respond to that on page 37,
Yes.
paragraph 54. You say the contents of this paragraph are denied.
Yes, I do.
I've not been a party to any arrangement with Anwar Dramat or Advocate Jiba who are not known to me.
I think she wanted to, Ms.
Yes.
Mokonyane.
Insofar as what Mr. Agrizzi is saying about my influence and the arrangements with both Advocate Jiba and Anwar Dramat, that is the reason why I'm saying I don't know. I don't relate with them on those bases. I know them at that level that they were responsible in that space, but I've never had this kind of a relationship in terms of their businesses and responsibility. It's a damn lie.
He responds to your answer at page 87.
Yes.
Do we need to look for it? Because you could just, we know where Ms. Mokonyane stands. You
Yes.
can just read the relevant parts.
Yes, no, I just wanted to so that she can get to it as well, then I'll read. Then he says, Mr. Agrizzi, he says, I deny allegations of this paragraph. I state that at the material time, Mr. Dramat was the head of the Hawks and Advocate Jiba was in a senior position at the Director of Public Prosecutions and at a later stage became the acting head. It is indeed surprising that Nomvula Paula Mokonyane would deny in the sense that these people are not known to her. Now, Mr. Mokonyane, tell me, you never had contacts with any of these people?
I've never had contacts with any of these people. I've never even had any influence on them, nor even sitting in any meeting with them. I have no relationship, and hence, on the basis of what is alleged, I'm saying I do not know, but I know them as individuals out there doing their job and myself doing my job somewhere else.
And never had a telephone conversation, cell phone conversation with them?
No, I've never had any telephone conversation with Anwar Dramat, nor have I had any telephone conversations with Nomcebo Jiba.
Nomgcobo Jiba.
Nomcebo Jiba. Yeah, that is the only time that I can say. The only other time is when you have these people out there being paraded and stuff, you'll know of them and you'll celebrate them, Chairperson. You'll celebrate them as women leaders. And I think, amongst other things, it's again the onslaught that I said in my statement about vilifying women. And I'm one of those people who will always stand by women and support them when they are under attack.
Mr. Noche.
And your support was merely limited to a moral support, not to call them and support them through phone calls?
No, we would actually support them both in the organization. I belong to the ANC Women's League. I'm a gender activist, I'm a feminist, and would forever, just like it happened with Ria Piaga, just as it has happened with Batabile Dlamini, just as it has happened with Siskosa Zana, we'll always have to have that sister support.
You just share the space with me. And just approach. To check whether there's any other thing of importance we need to raise. From our side, I think that is all I needed to deal with this witness, for the witness to help the commission.
Yes. Okay, all right. So I just want to go back to one point, namely that Ms. Mokonyane, you say that to the extent that on your version, Mr. Agrizzi decided to falsely accuse of all the things that he has accused you of, you don't know exactly why he's doing that, but you believe there is hatred involved. Is that right?
There is hatred involved.
Yes.
And he has also played into the political gallery.
Yes.
Because if you look at the timing, Chair, you see that it was at a time when there were tensions within the ANC, healthy tensions in the movement, because it's not the first time that there's been differences in terms of preferential leaders. He has also played into what everybody has done about President Jacob Zuma, that anyone who can say, I support Jacob Zuma, is actually corrupt. But he also has his own issues to respond to, because I don't even know the investigations of the SIU with Bosasa, and I really am quite very, very concerned about how he has actually jumped into this commission, come in and out, cleared things and everything. I so wish that my assumptions and what I've come to believe are actually wrong. First, he has gone out on record to be known as a racist. Secondly, he has gone out himself to be the one who was frustrated about me not helping them. So surely now he's punishing me because his mission and what he assumed that I have the capacity to do was never realized. Thirdly, I think Mr. Agrizzi also wants to make everybody believe that he is a holy cow, and everybody who is related with Bosasa and anyone who has been associated with President Jacob Zuma or anyone who has gone out to support the African National Congress is fine, except for Bosasa. And yet, as I'm saying, we have state-owned entities, we have big companies like Group 5 that has now gone under liquidation, who have supported the ANC. You've seen pictures of the Ruperts whining and dining with presidents of the African National Congress, with Madiba, with President Thabo Mbeki, and so on and so forth. And because all these things were above board, you know of how the Guptas had funded the DA, and Helen Zille wrote and accepted that contribution. And Mr. Agrizzi wants to make this a monster. It is only now that there is a bill in Parliament, Chairperson, that speaks about funding of political parties. There has never been a rule that says funding of political parties must not happen and so on. So all I can say, yinzondo, inkohlakalo, ukuzonda abafazi, but most importantly, it's about him pursuing an agenda that I think it is better known by himself. I really can't tell, Chair, and I so wish one day I would come to understand, but I remain with the view that I hold.
Well, you said some words in isiZulu just now. You want to try and put them in English for the record. You said inzondo, and you mentioned.
Yes, Chair. I think when you are emotional and hurt, you
revert to your language.
Yes,
yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
And
but for the
record,
yeah.
Chair, it's hatred, it's misogyny, it's racism, it's character assassination, and it's opportunism that goes with the character in Agrizzi's personality. He has flirted with all political parties, he has flirted with the media, he has projected himself as an extension of the Watson family, only to find that he's the extreme opposite of the Watson family. What was happening in Bosasa, like what was happening in Group 5, like what was happening in other big companies that have come out to support the ANC, I know nothing about that. If there has to be a day for them to come and account, so be it. And I think Mr. Agrizzi must just appreciate that. I am deeply concerned.
Yes. Now, I think we got to a point with regard to jobs that were done in your residence. We got to a point where, as I understood the position, from your side, there was no denial that some jobs were done. The denial was you didn't give instructions, one. Two,
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
yeah. Well, you don't mean you don't remember whether you gave instructions or not.
No, I've never given
Yeah,
instructions.
you have never given
Yeah,
instructions, yes. You never gave instructions. That's one. Two, with regard to your late husband, am I right to say we ended on a point where you said if he had made arrangements for this company of Mr. Balion, which is attached to Busasa in terms of arrangement, if he had made arrangements, he would have shared that with you.
Yes, Chairperson.
Is that right?
Yes.
So the fact that he never shared that with you points to him not having made any arrangement.
And his assertions also with that WhatsApp
In
note.
response to the Sunday Times
Yes, yes,
article.
Chairperson.
So, but what you also concede, I think, is that the security personnel at the gate would not open or allow anybody in unless they knew that the person
Yes,
was
Chairperson.
authorized to come
Yes,
in.
Chair.
Yeah. It seems to me that that leaves us with a situation where Mr. Balion's company and Mr. Richard Leroux and Charles Leroux may have come and done some work in circumstances where it's not clear who authorized that. Is that your
And
impression
who
as well?
instructed them from
Who
the Mokonyane?
instructed them to?
From the Mokonyane
yes,
family, yes.
Yes. Okay, all right. Mr. Nosh, I think there is one part which I seem to remember you didn't touch. I don't know what touch on, and I don't know whether that was deliberate. Ms. Dube's affidavit. No, I think you must cover it. Ms. Mokonyane must know that there is somebody else who seems to corroborate the story of deliveries so that she can deal with it other than Agrizzi.
Ms. Rani, go to divider 7.
Yes, Chair.
This is
Well-
the affidavit of Chair is on page 119.
I've got it.
Now, this is the affidavit of Mrs. Bongiwe Eves Dube.
Did you
And-
say
Understand.
Mr. Nosha?
Yes.
Did you say Mr.?
Mrs.
Miss?
Mrs. Bongiwe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you repeated.
No, I got a very stern,
Yeah.
I've got a very stern look from Mokonyane never to repeat such
Well,
a mistake.
maybe I can quickly deal with this.
Yes.
Miss Bongiwe Dube, her other name, Miss Mokonyane, is Eves. She says that she was previously employed as a unit leader, which she says is essentially a manager in the kitchens at Busasa. And her work included oversight of staff, working out the specifications for diets, the preparation of food with the chefs, and ordering and receiving of stock. And she sets out her movements within Busasa. And she says she ultimately worked at the head office of Busasa and was running the dinner and the kitchen. And she says this was for the staff, guests, meetings, and people who attended training, and they provided catering. She says Mr. Alistair Esau was in charge at head office, and she was second in charge. She took over from Catherine Matabate when she moved to Lindela. She says at 5.1, with regards to deliveries of food, I would receive instructions from either Papa Leshabane or Alistair. It is my understanding that in the instances where Alistair gave me instructions, he would have received the instructions from someone higher up at Busasa. 5.2, Christmas. She says over Christmas time in December, food would be delivered to Nomvula Mokonyane. I know this as in the first December I was at head office in 2016. I was on my way to fetch an order from a butchery called Food Boys in Stradom Park when one of the butchery staff phoned me and asked me about a specific order. They asked me if I knew about it, as it was normally dealt with by Catherine every December. The staff I dealt with at the butchery were Precious, Happy, and Laura, and she gives a cell number. She says, Food Boys. She says, I phoned Catherine and asked her about the order, whereupon she said I must not deal with the order, as that was for Nomvula Mokonyane, and she would deal with it. It was a large order of meat, approximately 17,000 rand worth, and the butchery staff informed me that the order was already in place. The same occurred the following year in December 2017, as this was a standing order. Thomas was the driver at Bosasa at the time, and he would have made the deliveries. I did not deal with the delivery of any drinks and alcohol to Nomvula Mokonyane. So I wanted you to know that there is somebody else other than Agrizzi who has deposed to an affidavit who has something to say about this, so that you can comment. You might say you stand by what you have said.
I stand by what I have said, and I would
Yes.
have wished, with your permission, Chair,
Yes.
that the chair would have then gone to page 122.
Let's go there. Let's go there. If you want to read, you can read.
The lady says, who I have never met, who also confirms that there's nowhere where he says,
Yeah, she doesn't
I
say she
did this with
delivered. Yeah.
Nomvula and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've really indicated
Yeah.
what all these things were about and what they were meant for. She then goes on page 122, Chairperson, where she says, I came to Busasa through Mr. Angelo Agrizzi. And in 2018, it was common knowledge that Busasa's management wanted to get rid of people relating to Mr. Agrizzi. This was because there had been a fallout between them. I think this is a mouthful. I just want to leave it.
Yes, yes.
And actually go further and complete that statement. She then goes further to say, Alistair and other staff linked to Mr. Agrizzi were removed by early 2018. In this period, one of the staff said that I was receiving money from one of the guests and they'd seen me on the CCTV camera. I informed Busasa's management that I'd received the money from Avon products I was selling and the person was delivering the money to me. I was, however, then dismissed for failing to declare my Avon businesses, which I did in my spare time.
Yes.
I just want to leave it there, Chair,
Yes,
that
yes.
again, this is the person who says she came through Mr. Agrizzi, but I really want the commission to also underline what she is saying, that all these things happened because there was a fallout amongst them. Some of us are becoming casualties of that fallout, and I wish she can be able to corroborate what was the nature of the fallout and to what extent has it led to this commission being given all this time to now listen to all these insinuations and allegations, including peddling of lies. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Noshe, you might have something that arises from this.
No, I do not
Yes.
have. I do not have.
Okay, all right. Then we are done. There has not been any indication from the Ms. Mokonyane's legal team that they would like to re-examine or anything? Yes, okay, that's fine, yes. Oh, okay, just switch on your mic then, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Your counsel will re-examine, so he will put some questions to you. He says he'll be 5 minutes, then you can he does so in order to just clarify certain things that he wishes to be clarified.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I'm indebted to you. Ms. Mokonyane, would you please look at the document that is Mr. Agrizzi's response to your statement? You'll find it at page 64. It's response dated the 18th of November 2019. When was the first time that you saw this document?
This is the one that is dated 2019 November.
Yes.
I saw this document after it was already in the newspapers.
This document here, what I want to put to you, perhaps you can clarify it with the leave of the chairperson, is this was only given to us over this last weekend.
It was given to us this Sunday. We worked on it, chairperson, overnight, and hence I'm saying this. We learned of the story on the newspapers, but we got hold of this document this past weekend.
That you wanted to proceed with this matter today.
Yes, I wanted to proceed with the matter today.
Now, at page 70 of that document, and this is an issue that arose for the first time on the weekend, at paragraph 20.4, there's an issue that Mr. Agrizzi says that I cannot cross-examine him because he dealt with me personally on numerous occasions, together with Attorney Brian Bibak. Is it still your wish for me to cross-examine him?
Chairperson, I would still wish that my legal representatives do actually cross-examine Mr. Agrizzi, and for now, I don't even know what is the conflict that he's referring to or his reservation.
Thank you.
Well, maybe I should deal with that because at some stage today I thought I would deal with that. I saw that in your affidavit, in Ms. Mokonyane's affidavit, there is a line somewhere saying she would like to cross-examine or to have her legal team cross-examine Mr. Agrizzi. But that has not been dealt with as an application for leave to cross-examine, simply because the rules make provision for what to do if you want to apply for leave to cross-examine, and that didn't come in that way. I think the affidavit came because we requested Ms. Mokonyane to file an affidavit. I think the legal team, if they wish to pursue an application for leave to cross-examine, maybe should just reflect on the rule and then take it from there.
As you please, Mr. Chairperson.
Yes, yeah. So certainly from the chairperson's side, it wasn't taken as an application for leave to cross-examine, but the legal team her legal team can reflect on that and take it from there.
And you have two remaining issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Yes, okay.
Then you'll see at page 73, Madam, at paragraph 27.1, Mr. Agrizzi states here unequivocally that the meat was purchased from Siemens Foods, Green Hills Butchery, Randfontein. And you've just been referred to Ms. Doobie's statement, where she says the food came from Food Boys in Stratham Park. Do you know either of these companies?
No, Chairperson, I don't know either of the two.
Then my final issue, Madam, is you've touched on it, but you haven't clarified it in succinct terms, and I'd like you to be more specific about this if you can. You have two sons that are referred interchangeably to by Mr. Agrizzi, and he seems to have confused the two. He specifically states that your one son, whom he doesn't name, had a drug problem and went to Clan William, and he implies that that's the son that then passed away. Is that the case? Is there any merit in that or not?
Chairperson, it's not the truth. My son, who had gone to Glen Williams and got rehabilitated from substance abuse, is still alive. He's trying his best to get out of it, and therefore Mr. Agrizzi is not telling the truth. My son, who has passed on, had nothing to do with the drugs. In fact, he had challenges of being persecuted by the media and being chased around, just for him being an ordinary child and now being labeled as Nomvula's son. So that is the difference. And I really think that the interchangeable use of the two indicates that he was actually clutching on all straws, because Africa Mokonyane is alive and may he live long. Retlabusa is now in his grave. He's been buried. He passed on in November 2010. And there was a lot that surrounded what the media was saying about him. But again, in my culture and in the manner that I respect bereavement, we opted never to respond to the media. And until today, we have refused to take such issues into the public space. And hence, I do believe that he is having ulterior motives. He doesn't even know the people he's talking about.
Finally, madam, your son who passed away's full name was?
It's Retlabusa Mohau Mokonyane.
And your son who's still alive and who he seems to have confused with that son's full name is?
My firstborn is Africa Peter Mokonyane.
Those were the only issues, Mr. Chairperson. No, thank you. Thank you. I think there is just one question that I want to raise, and you may have dealt with it, but I want to be sure about it. With regard to your son who went to, is it Glen Williams? Mr. Agrizzi said Busasa paid for whatever expenses for him being accommodated there. And he said Busasa made all the arrangements for him to be accommodated there. I think in your affidavit you have denied that, but I just want to be sure.
Chairperson, my son was part of a group of young people who were picked in the streets of this country and taken into rehabilitation. He had to be removed even here because he was chased by the drug lords and trying to push him. And he then, out of the processes from here in Krugersdorp, they then arranged that they rather take him to a place that is away from where the drug lords are and those that wanted to continue using him. And that's how Africa ended up in Glen Williams. It was part of that social program that I was talking about, where Orlando Pirates, their Business Against Crime, various other organizations were part of in taking our kids away from the programs. And he actually presented himself. I actually picked up other kids from the streets, from their homes, with the consent of their parents, and some who are above the age of 18 who volunteered to go to Bosasa.
So would the position be that Bosasa may or may not have paid, but that was not at your request if they did pay?
No, it
Or
was,
is
it was not at my request.
Yes.
It was at their own
Initiative.
initiatives, like I'm saying, Chair.
Yes.
They've picked up so many kids.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, just for the record, the reference to that is at page 84.
Okay.
That's what hasn't been dealt with previously.
Yes.
We didn't have this document before.
Okay. No, thank you.
Just for the record. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Noshe, you are done.
I'm done, Chair.
Yes.
The only thing is Mrs. Mokonyane had promised to give us details of people in government who can be contacted about.
Yeah, you can get that through her lawyers after. Yeah. Ms. Mokonyane, we are done. Thank you very much for coming to give evidence in the commission, and that we have also stayed beyond 4 o'clock in order to finish. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We are going to adjourn then, and tomorrow we'll resume at normal time, 10 o'clock, but we are done with the evidence of Ms. Mokonyane. We adjourn.